Hi boys and girls, welcome to Everyday Math Lesson 1.12. The materials that you'll need today are notebook paper, your pencil, and your math journal. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go over our math boxes from the previous lesson. If you're noticing that you have any mistakes, please fix those mistakes with your pencil and eraser. So for question number 1, how much money? Circle the best answer. So if I start counting my dimes, I have 10, 20, 30, then a nickel would give me 35 and a penny 36. You could have also circled B, 36 cents. For question number 2, fill in the missing numbers. So if I have 13 and I think 10 more than 13 is 23, 1 less than 23 is 22, and then 1 more than 23 is 24. They give me 33. I know 10 more than 33 is 43, and then 1 more would get me to 44. For question number 3, write the number. So I'm going to count by 5. So I have my 10, 20, 30. I'm going to try that one more time. I'm going to count by 5s. I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 31, 32, and 33. There we go. So I should have had 33 for my answer. For question number 4, draw hands to show 6:15. So notice how my hour hand is in between the 6 and the 7, and my minute hand is on the 3, showing 6:15. For question number 5, I chose to use the unit bikes. You could have picked whatever unit you would have liked. So I know that 6 plus 6 is equal to 12, 9 plus 9 equals 18, 20 plus 20 is 40, and 100 plus 100 is 200. And last, for number 6, I chose to use the unit cars. So if I have 139, I know 1 more would get me to 140. If I have 479, I know 1 more would get me to 480. 299 plus 1 would be 300. 398 plus 2 would get me to 400. So please double check to make sure that you have the correct answers on this page. If you have any questions, you can ask your classroom teacher. If you could put your math journal to the side, and if you have either a whiteboard or notebook paper, if you could have those for the next slides. If the speed is ever too fast, please pause as often as needed. Second graders, the first thing we're going to do is practice a little bit of counting. For some of the problems, I'm going to use a little marker to show where I want to start. So for this first one, I'm going to count by tens. And I want to start at 10, and I want to stop at 100. All right? Are you ready? Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. That was kind of an easy one. Let's try another one. This time we're going to count by twos. We're going to start at 20. So I'm going to move my little marker to 20. And then we're going to stop when we get to 38. Can you count with me by twos? Here we go. 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38. And if you want to try that again, you can press pause, rewind, and then play that one more time. This time we're going to count by tens, but we're going to start at the number 250 and we're going to go all the way up to 400. So for this one, I'm not going to be able to mark it on my grid. So we'll just practice using just our brain. All right, here we go. 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 300, 310, 320, 330, 340, 350, 360, 370, 380, 390, 400. We'll try one more counting. This time we're going to count by twos. We're going to start at 120 and we're going to stop at 150. Now, second graders, what I'm going to do is I am going to put my marker on 20. And I know when I'm seeing that number 20, I need to really think that it's 120. And I'm going to stop when I get at 150. Okay? So I'm going to borrow my tens and ones digits from my grid, but I know I have to add 100 to each of those. All right, we have 120, 122, 124, 126, 128, 130, 132, 134, 136, 138, 140, 142, 144, 146, 148, 150. Nice counting. Second graders, today we're going to talk about temperature. So before we start getting into our thermometers, I want you to think about words that describe weather. So if you either want to pause the video and maybe write down some words that describe weather or say some out loud, and then press play when you're ready to hear my list. All right, second graders, let's see if you had anything that I said. So when I describe weather, I might say sunny, maybe I'd say cloudy or partly cloudy, foggy, rainy, windy, snowy, stormy, and there's more words too that would describe weather. This is just a list that I have to kind of get us started. So then let's think about what some of these amounts mean on a thermometer. So this is my example of a thermometer, and we're talking about degrees Fahrenheit. So when I see that little circle with the F next to it, we're talking about that F is standing for Fahrenheit. So you can see the amounts that I have. My thermometer goes all the way from -40 up to 140. So if you look at the temperature in the red, you can see that anywhere in the red that would be considered boiling, especially if it was with water, boiling. Then in the orange would be hot. Then in the yellow I would consider that to be warm. In the green it would be cool. And you can see where that's kind of matching. So between our 60 and 40 degrees, that would be considered cool. And then again, I have kind of in between that 40 and the high 30s would be cold. Now, once it hits 32 degrees, then that's going to be where my water freezes. So anything at 32 and below, anything down here too, would be considered freezing. Okay? So my freezing kind of has a big range. Now I'm going to ask you some questions and you can either follow along on my slide or for some of them, you might want to write your answer down on your whiteboard. But let's look. Let's find 0 on my thermometer. Can you point to where the 0 is? And if you pointed here, that would be right. Now, can you find 100? If you pointed here, you found it. Let's count by tens on the thermometer, but boys and girls, we're going to start with -30. Can you count by tens with me? I'll move this screen. And we'll go all the way up to the top of 140. So we would have -30, -20, -10, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, and 140. Let's count backward by tens from 100. And then it says, do you have to stop at 0? Let's not stop at 0. Let's see if we can go down to -30. Okay? So again, we're going to start at 100. We're going to go backwards all the way to -30. Here we go. 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 0, -10, -20, -30. How do you read -20? Can you find that on my thermometer? If you said -20 would be right here. Now another way to say -20, you could say 20 degrees below 0. That would be very, very cold. -20. Boys and girls, before we answer this question, let's kind of take a look at our thermometer and let's just talk about a few of the temperatures. So you can see we talked about before that our water is freezing at our 32 degrees. Now our room temperature, so like in our classroom or maybe at home, is usually around 70 degrees, maybe a little warmer than that or a little bit colder, but kind of an average of 70 degrees. Our body temperature is kind of an average of about 98 degrees. So that's what our average or our normal body temperature would be. So when we think about the temperature on a hot day, which of these would be a hot day? 52 degrees or 85 degrees? And you could write that on your whiteboard. If you said that a hot day would be 85 degrees, you are correct. Yes, those 85 degree days, we would for sure want to wear our shorts. 85 degrees. And then what temperature would be a cold day? 40 degrees or 74? If you said 40 degrees, that would be correct. And some of our mornings are kind of starting out in the 40s now. So 40 degrees would be pretty cold. 74 is not quite as hot as 85, but it still is a nice warm temperature. Second graders, you don't have this page, but I'm going to ask you to write your answer on your whiteboard. Could you number your whiteboard or your notebook? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now for each problem, I want you to decide which thermometer, either A or B, shows the correct temperature. So let's look at thermometer number 1. Which of these shows 30 degrees? A or B? And if you need more time, you can press pause and then play when you're ready to see my answer. I know that thermometer A shows 30 degrees. How about number 2? Which thermometer shows 20 degrees, A or B? I know that thermometer B shows 20 degrees. Will you answer questions 3 and 4 and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer? Press pause now. Boys and girls, which temperature shows 12 degrees? You would have had thermometer B. And I know this because thermometer B, I can see where my 10 is and it looks like it's just 2 little slashes right above the 10. And then look at number 4, which one shows 28 degrees? And that would be thermometer B. And again, I know this because I'm almost to the 30, not quite to the 30, but just about where this one is going to be past the 30. We'll work more with thermometers in future lessons. But now for our last thing, let's put our notebook to the side and take a look at math boxes. So if you could look at page 19, we'll quickly talk about the directions. When you're all done, if you could take a picture, add that picture to Seesaw for your classroom teacher, and we'll go over this page in our next video. So for question number 1, you need to fill in those missing numbers. For question number 2, fill in the oval next to the numbers that are in order from smallest to largest. So again, take a look. Which of these has them in the correct order with the smallest number first and the largest number last? Number 3, write the amount of money. Write even or odd for each of these numbers for number 4. For number 5, you need to figure out the rule and then plug in those missing numbers. And then for number 6, you need to fill in the blank. So take a look. What do you think they're counting by? And then tell me the next 3 numbers. All right, I will see you next time.